Euh, Bonjour à tous, bienvenue à encore une séance d'interview avec Grenoble Indian Film Festival. Aujourd'hui, nous avons la chance d'avoir plusieurs réalisateurs une fois de plus pendant le festival et j'ai l'immense chance d'avoir avec moi KOEL SEN qui est une cinéaste, une femme, donc voilà, une fierté d'avoir aussi des femmes avec nous, qui a fait donc l'école prestigieuse de cinéma en Inde, le FTII. On est bien d'accord, hein, KOEL, c'est bien ça. Et puis, elle a une connexion en France puisque donc elle a été à la FEMIS à Paris, hein, qui est quand même la plus prestigieuse école de cinéma en France. Elle a fait un court-métrage qui était donc une production indo-française. Donc, elle va nous parler de ça. Et puis, bah, son film, son autre court-métrage, a reçu un prix au festival des Philippines, je crois.
Oui.
Oui. Et donc, elle a aussi, ce qui est intéressant et ce qui m'a fascinée, c'est qu'elle utilise aussi diverses techniques pour travailler. Donc, on va revenir là-dessus aussi. Elle va expliquer un peu sa façon de travailler et qu'est-ce qui l'intéresse et quelle est sa marque de fabrique en quelque sorte. Mais voilà, donc avant, je vais passer peut-être en anglais. Elle va vous faire une petite intro en français. C'est génial d'avoir des cinéastes qui parlent les deux langues. Donc, voilà, bienvenue à KOEL, hein, KOEL SEN, qui est avec nous.
Merci
Welcome.
Sonia, merci beaucoup. Bonjour tout le monde. Et je suis KOEL. Je suis réalisateur, aussi une artiste. J'habite au Mumbai. Et maintenant, je suis en train de une résidence, artiste résidence en Allemagne, quand je écris mon script première fois.
Voilà, elle a gagné ce prestigieux prix. Pour pouvoir aller faire 3 mois en Allemagne dans une résidence, hein, par rapport au cinéma. Donc, c'est une excellente nouvelle. Elle sera en Europe pendant 3 mois à partir du mois de mars 2022. Formidable. Tout ça, c'est que des bonnes nouvelles pour 2022. C'est formidable, ça.
Merci beaucoup.
Voilà, tu es contente de venir en Europe travailler, de peut-être rencontrer aussi plusieurs cinéastes qui vont être là avec toi en Allemagne.
Oui, je crois que j'espère que j'ai rencontré avec tous les producteurs aussi voyager dans France, tout le pays, dans Paris, Marseille aussi.
Voilà, donc c'est bien. Vous avez vu qu'un jour, on aura KOEL qui va venir au Grenoble Indian Film Festival en vrai, en chair et en os, et qui nous parlera bien sûr en français. Mais là, vu qu'on est coincé par le
parle pas bien,
mais tu as le temps.
Je suis anglais maintenant.
So we're going to switch to English, but I mean that's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's great, and all the progress that's going to be coming is so positive. I'm just coming to English because then obviously you can give us all the nuances
Yes,
and things that you need to
is
explain to us. No. I mean it's absolutely good to be starting with something, you know, considering the fact that you've been to the FEMIS, now you're traveling, you're doing so many things, and learning a language is not a simple thing, but I mean it's wonderful to at least understand and be able to follow, and that's great. Tell us a little bit about your experience at the FEMIS. So how did this happen?
Yes, as you already introduced, I was studying at the Film and Television Institute of India in Pune. And this is in 2016 when I got a scholarship through the French language, also when I started learning French. So there was a scholarship to attend the programme d'été, which is the summer program, for 3 months. So that was entirely on a scholarship basis that I was invited by the French embassy in India, and you know, they sort of took care of my travel and everything. And it was a great experience because for me to be able to go to another country that has such a huge history of cinema, which is one of the pioneers of cinema, like visiting the Cinematheque, looking at the cameras by the Lumiere brothers. It was like a pilgrim spot for me, to be honest. So I really, really enjoyed my time at La FEMIS. I met a whole bunch of very interesting people and got to learn a lot.
And so how long did you stay at the FEMIS?
3 months.
Right, right. So interesting experience, lots of exchanges with the other filmmakers and people who, you know, sharing this common passion. Tell me about you. So this French and Indian short film that you made, how did that come about? Because now you're in your third or fourth short film. How did that happen?
So when I was at La FEMIS, I had already met some production design students who were planning to come to India and do their exchange program. And so when I was shooting my film Valle, that is when they were, so we had already met and discussed about my script while I was there, and they were very keen on working with me because we'd already sort of become friends there. So when they came to India, so they were pretty sure that they want to work on my film, and then they collaborated in the production design with my team, which was predominantly India based. The whole film is shot in Lonavala, and yeah, so there are two French girls who came from La FEMIS and worked on my film.
That's interesting to know. Huh? That's really interesting to know. Different techniques, different working methods. What was it like for them to be coming to India? Because this also is something that I've, you know, over the years been hearing with people. And for example, this is with Ashwin Kumar, but this is in 2004. When he was making Road to Ladakh with Irfan Khan, he told me, you know what, I just put out an ad on the net, and I got a response from people to come work on my film. And I said, wow, that's quite incredible to think that you could possibly be taking the risk to say, you know, well, come work with me and recruit people, your team on the net. So today I say to filmmakers, well, the world is open. It's a smaller place now. And you can have, you know, anyone come work on your film from different countries, etc. But then people say to me, well, you know, working in India is so different. And then the Indians say when they go to the US or coming to France, oh, well, working in France is so different. What was your big thing that you learned? Because you just said that you learned so much.
I got accustomed to the language of filmmaking in France. I mean, what to call a boom rod, for instance, and how to, you know, say cut, and all the sort of, because every film industry has its own language, its own internal lingo that goes around during sets and during shoots, and it's only through experience that you understand that space. And I think in the whole process of my stay, and also I was because I was inside a film school, I got to see other shoots that were happening, and I could just be around and see how things go on in the campus. So I think, yeah, so just understanding the French film industry was a great learning for me. And also how co-productions work, because we had workshops in FEMIS where we discussed co-productions, and also one producer who has been producing with India took our classes. He's the co-producer with Anup Singh Batla. He had done Kissa. His name is Thierry. I forget his second name, but I think he had taken a class, and this is back in 2016. So I got to learn about an Indo-French co-production as well. So how that
was
functions.
Interesting. Right. It's
Yes.
Interesting for students, because there's so much you're busy learning, and then there's all this business that goes on, and that these aspects of filmmaking, it still is your baby, and before it gets out to the halls and to the audience, it has to go through so many different steps. And filmmakers very often tell me, but you know, I was curious, I knew this was coming, but I never thought it was going to be so difficult to grasp this side or that side of what happens after the film's ready, right? So that's interesting to know. That's also good for us to know with the FTII how things work, and there's workshops there, etc. So that's good for us to know. Tell me a little bit more about your bio. Reading your bio, I learned that you're fascinated by you know, putting in IT into your films with the algorithm, and tell us about that. So what aspect is that, and how did you discover that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, up until now, till my last short film, which is Valet, I was really using a very classical method of filmmaking, actually it was slow cinema that I was trying to work with. And my film was shot on analog 35 mm. So up until that film, I was not really exploring this extremely opposite side of digital. And once I moved back to Bombay and started teaching at Whistling Woods, and I was again being, exploring new techniques, and I'm also part of their VR lab. We're working on, there's a VR research lab at Whistling Woods. So I got into the whole idea of understanding digital productions, virtual productions, and apart from that, also as an artist, how I can work with footage. And like I kind of sometimes also like the idea of a self-made film, in the sense like I shoot it myself, I edit it myself. Sometimes short films can be very, very simplistically made, like an essay. And I got into making these short sort of videos where I was shooting some footage, I was manipulating it on some software which would work with pixels. It's a kind of VFX, but not VFX in the way it's used, but in a very different way, and applying layers and different things to my footage to actually make it look very different from what I had shot. And this is the kind of film that is coming out now, which is which I'm working towards in my feature film also. This is a technique that is also coming in my form.
Very interesting to know. Now, this is one aspect I didn't put into the intro when I introduced you. Tell us a little bit more about you working with Whistling Woods. Whistling Woods is a big institute in India, but very modern, latest technology, etc., with filmmaker Subhash Ghai, who is at the origin of that, and it's based in Film City. It's still based in Film City, right?
Yes.
So how did you come into Whistling Woods, and what is your contribution, your role there?
Sure. I was moving. So after I graduated, finished my diploma from FTII, so I wanted to move back to Bombay. I was working before I joined FTII as well. So I already sort of was working in the film industry in Bombay. Then I took a sort of a break and went to FTII for 4 years. And then again, I was moving back. So I definitely wanted a job to sort of survive in the city. And I do have a lot of contacts here from before. I have few friends who helped me out to get this job, and they were saying that they need a female faculty at the direction department who focuses on women's cinema, and also not just that, they just wanted someone from FTII, from a training from a film school, who could teach. So there was a vacancy, and I applied and I got through. So I've been with them for 4 years now. And it has been a very nice experience, and I've learned a lot. Because teaching is a medium where you constantly are growing, I feel, and it's a very generous medium, and you are in touch with the younger generations of filmmakers. And my students are really young; they are 18 to 21 age group. So I really like engaging with younger audiences and discussing what they are thinking about. And they also find interest in the work I do, because I'm also a young filmmaker, and they come for my events. And sometimes I do these digital, the manipulation that I was talking about. I even do it in live performances where it's basically projection mapping, where I project my images and I work with the footage, what I just explained. And I do that in a live performance, in a live setup with, maybe a live music. So my students sort of, come for these events as well. So there is a very nice exchange, and that place is quite lively.
Interesting. So KOEL, tell us a little bit about your film that you're very kindly giving us for the festival. How did this come about? And without, obviously, I'm not saying anything. I haven't even presented it in the intro, because I just want us to, the audience to discover it. But a little something so that people know what went into you getting this idea and, you know, developing this particular idea in this direction? And the subject, obviously, yeah?
Yes. So the protagonist of my film is a 65-year-old woman who is single, who has probably been a widow for the past 15 years of her life. And she chose to live alone. So that was where I began, because I kind of wanted to understand what would, what would it take for a woman her age to completely be okay with being in an isolated space. And the space that I chose was this really old, 100-year-old sort of bungalow in Lonavala in the middle of a forest. And the space of the house is extremely important as a character as well, which sort of resonates with the character of the woman. And the actress who plays it is Meena Naik. She's a known Marathi actress, and she has done quite a good performance with my film, because she's from television, and the way she has performed in my film is very different from the work she does in theater and television. So we had a very interesting journey. Also, the crux of this thought is coming from a very feminine feeling or longing, where one does not understand the sense of and the acceptance of loneliness and solitude, and the being content with that idea. So I just feel that a lot of women are still struggling with the idea of loneliness. They are scared to be alone. And I just wanted to plunge into this thought and see that what if a woman was to be alone all her life? What could be done? And then I things just happened. I started writing, and then these other characters from the village started emerging. So the woman is also a teacher, and of course, like, some critics have said that it resonates with my mother's character, who is also a teacher, and it obviously happens subconsciously. It does happen, these kind of things. But there are two students that she teaches who she gets very attached to. There's one boy who's a tribal guy who works in her house as a full-time worker, and she's close to him, and she's also teaching him. And there's another girl what does she do? Then she is a part of this space, and then she accepts the people around in her village, the tribals, the other people, and then she starts living with them, you know. So that is what, so it became a very sort of organic way it transformed into this.
I'm just coming to this particular, theme that you've taken with loneliness and speaking about this at this particular time, and which is a good idea. When I asked you, I had the choice between two films, and you suggested this one, and I said, well, it's a good idea. We're living in this very particular time where for 18 months everyone's in this, we're disconnected and yet connected online, and there is this incredible loneliness that we're facing with not being able to see people and touch people like before. And you know what it's like in France, where everybody, you meet people and you have the bees and you go kiss everyone 2-3 times. So we're like missing this like crazy, and we're this loneliness, yet feeling connected. Me teaching at the university, also in France, and also had, masters 1 and 2, but cinema students, but feeling that you can now see them in class for real is a wonderful feeling. But it's like but we're realizing we cannot, in our feelings and who we are, switch from like on and off, that everything is long to come back. And those feelings that we had and that connection, to re-establish that connection, is going to take a while. There's been a fuse in our heads, right?
Oh yes, totally. I totally understand what you're saying, because just yesterday I took a physical class with my students, and it was so overwhelming after 2 years of just doing online classes. Because being that connection, there's so much happening in the physical, there are energies, there are there's so much more happening. than just, when we are working online. So yes.
Also now, my next question is thinking about this. I mean, I'm coming back to this again. When I speak about loneliness, it's also the fact that with the crisis, as a filmmaker, you're a teacher in a cinema institute, but also as a filmmaker, and realizing that the whole world came to a standstill for 18 months, but that films with distribution are still waiting. Things haven't got back to normal, and studios are waiting, and distribution is still slow and to come back to normal. At the same time, the good part has been that we've got everybody who's been at home and everyone's been available, and people have been seeing these films when people would never have the time to sit and see them. So we had the other good side of things, or the of this bad side has been that we've caught people at home who we'd never catch, and who'd be, taking flights and going all around the world here and there. And we've caught them, and we're getting them, whether it's in festivals or wherever, and saying, oh God, we've got access to these people. So is that something important for you?
Oh, I absolutely. I mean, I feel that with any kind of, a situation which is difficult to cope with, I feel that there are always some things good that also come out of it. And I tend to like to look at the brighter side of things. So this is one part of, see, the pandemic has also helped us focus on ourselves, on our health, because we were just running from here to there, catching the next flight, going here. I mean, we had forgotten what it was to just sit back and, be with our families, or just, have a relaxed day. So these were definitely the positive sides of the pandemic. The pollution and traffic had come down immensely in Bombay, for instance. So, and people in Bombay can't breathe. So it's like this, it was a breather that we all got. So when I meet all my colleagues at the institute, I see like fresh, thin faces, people who have like recupered and very healthy, they're looking healthy. So yes. Yes.
Yeah, it has brought about a certain awareness and change at every
Of
level.
course.
So that's positive, but also with students and their minds, etc. There's lots going on. I was just speaking about mental issues, etc., which then obviously is another whole discussion. But films get us to reflect on all these things and all these aspects, to really delve deep down within us. And that's what's wonderful about films coming from India as well, that people don't get to realize that there's all this coming, and us giving this little platform with people in France discovering films from India and saying, wow, this is interesting. So we really working towards that. I'd like you to just please give us a few lines about something that we've spoken about, and I'd like you to mention here, which is about your mom. Can you tell us a little bit about her and what the situation is right now?
Yeah, so unfortunately, like for me, it has been a bit of a roller coaster ride since 2018, because my mother is a human rights activist, and she has almost 38 years of experience as an English professor, and she's been very vocal about women's rights and human rights. But since 2018, we were worried about her because there has been a bit of pressure on her to keep quiet. And then it resulted and culminated in her arrest, which was very awfully traumatic for all of us, because she was arrested, and she still is behind bars for being very vocal about her rights, for being very, very direct with the points that she was putting forward about the rights of Dalit people in the region that she works in, which is in Nagpur in Maharashtra. And yeah, so we also alongside, I am working on a campaign for her release with my family, with my father, with my aunts and uncles who are all concerned about her. She, along with 15 other human rights activists, were arrested in 2018 which is called as the Bhima Koregaon or the Elgar Parishad case right now, for basically charged with anti-national charges, waging
And
war against.
the reason being that
That
she
these events, which are predominantly the two events that I mentioned, Bhima Koregaon and Elgar Parishad, are predominantly Dalit leadership oriented events. They were organized by Dalit leaders in India and Maharashtra, which was to commemorate the 100th year of their sort of, liberation over the Peshwa army, So that's like there's a big stump in Bhima Koregaon, which they were commemorating. But somehow the right-leaning forces instigated violence and there were riots on 1st of January where one person got killed. Now, why and how that they have fabricated my mother and 15 other people and arrested them in this case is a story which needs to be told, because it's honestly something that sounds scripted and made up, to be honest, because even till now none of the evidence has been brought forth. And we have like right from Amnesty International to even United Nations, they have tried to intervene. We have constantly been asked to, like we've been talking to even international media like Washington Post has written articles about this. There has been a report by an agency called Arsenal Consulting, which is a US-based forensic analysis agency, that has proved that the evidence is one letter against my mom and the others, is one letter which was planted on their laptops through a malware. And this itself has been proved. So the entire evidence on which they are in jail right now uh, is itself planted. So where does one go with in this sort of a situation? Like, so yeah, mostly people are just, and it is becoming very common in India right now. You cannot raise your voice. You have the fear of getting arrested or getting raided in your house. You never know what you say. You have to go and apologize. It's not an easy time for us here right now. It is difficult. It's yeah, it's not easy.
right. It's also difficult for filmmakers, for artists,
Yeah.
for intellectuals. Also, the fact that she is, an intellectual, and she's obviously a university professor. That we know for the past few years has been a difficult a thing with the ruling party in power. So it's important that you say this, and we obviously are bringing at our level whatever support we wanted this out and this known, so it's going to be an important moment for us to think about all the political, how can you say, activists, I mean, who are behind bars in India. And so there's this support from all of us to obviously your mother and so many others, and that needs light shed on that, obviously. Because there's also been filmmakers, there's also been journalists, there's yes, yeah. I'm coming back to obviously your next step, which is going to be Germany. 2022, focusing on a beautiful future for 3 months over there. What exactly, how does it work, and what you're going to be working on in Germany?
Right. So this place is actually in Cologne, Academy for the Arts of the World. And it's an artist in residence that I have won. So I was invited to spend 3 months and work on, so I am working currently on 2 projects. One is a non-fiction film, which is already in the pitching stage, which I have already shot a pitching video. So I am also working on finalizing that pitch film and applying for funding for my non-fiction project. And my feature script, which is a feature fiction, is also in the process of almost, it's getting there. So I just want those 3 months of isolation to be able to focus and really work on the final draft of my feature film. So I think these 2 things, which I hope I can manage to do simultaneously, are going to happen there.
We really hope that, we wish that, we send you all the beautiful vibes to help you get through this very difficult moment, hoping that there's going to be a ray of sunshine and
yes,
positive outcome, good future, and there's a way out of this solution. There's always ways out. And know that now you have a new home. Grenoble is your house now.
Merci beaucoup.
And you're welcome anytime. We are absolutely delighted with everything that you've told us and what's coming up for the future. We're extremely excited for all your new projects coming up. I'm going to be following you closely. Thank you immensely for having given us your film and being part of our festival this year. This is our 5th edition. Unfortunately, 4th and 5th, we're going to say, has been part of COVID, and whatever the situation is, we're glad that in these past 2 years we've really shifted the spotlight and said, let's put the spotlight on short filmmakers and on their films, because for us, the whole programming is gone on to short last year and this year, and we've only got 2 features. Last year we had 1 feature, which was Roberto Sen's film. This year we have another feature, which is Talaivi with Kangana, and everything else is shorts, because we said let's give focus to something that we've not given focus to for the moment. Access also to filmmakers who need this spotlight, who also need support, who need all this, PR and help and the buzz also to get their work known. And it's wonderful for us, because we then get to follow what you're doing, see the progress, going from short to first feature, writing, working on all these projects, being part of something beautiful like you're going to be doing in Cologne. So all this is hyper positive for us, and for you. It's going to be something really interesting and wonderful. So all the best. All the best.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having my film and inviting my film to your festival. I'm extremely honored, and thanks for this opportunity.
Well, we hope to see you in person someday soon.
Yes.
Someday soon.
Yes.
So, well, we give you a hug, okay? You and your mom, we're hugging you very tight and following you closely. And take care of yourself and stay positive, and see you soon. I'm going to say à bientôt to you. À bientôt in French, obviously. À bientôt. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Coel. À bientôt. Au revoir. Bye.
Bye.
लुक छुप ना जाओ जी, मन बीत कराओ जी, रा क्यों तरसावे हो, मन सकल दिखाओ जी। थारी शरारत सब जानू मैं चौधरी, हर सले उन बंगा दी मैं कह लगे, मर बिगड़ में जागी दो कणी चंदा में था।